So many things about him make me want to be like, you fucking silly poodle boy. But he
Oh, it's still fucking you across the table.
like, still fucking you over there. He literally said that. He was like, with the jokes, if they don't get it, fuck them.
All these things, all these tropes that like people tell you when you're dating, and they're not helpful in the moment. Hi, welcome back to Not For Everyone. We're an existential commentary podcast hosted by one hater and one lover. I'm Jess DeBakey. I'm the lover. And back on the room across from me, she loves to get in there and just start talking. It's Caroline Winkler.
When am I gonna learn to shut up? It's not like we've done this intro 100 times. Yeah.
No, you never know. Sometimes I am about to pause and give you a moment, and sometimes I keep talking.
Yeah. Sometimes you cue me in. Sometimes
it never goes the way that I want it to. I'll say that.
Yeah. Anyway, I agree.
How the hell are you?
I'm actually really good. I'm really good. How are you?
Actually, is that because you had 2 breakfasts this morning?
I did. I had 2 different breakfast dates, and that, I'll tell you what, that gives me anxiety. I spend most days just worrying about how I'm socially going to get through the next day's events. And then, most of the time it's great. So all my fault. But I had 2 amazing breakfast dates, one with a dear friend and then one with my dad. And it's a beautiful day outside. I had double breakfasts. Both of them had bacon.
I was going to ask.
Oh yeah, both had
bacon that you didn't prepare.
Exactly. That's what bacon is to me. It's a meat that I don't make. Yeah. That's bacon. My dad was cracking me up. He's such a kook. He was telling me a story. He was just visiting my sister overseas. They met in Italy together because she's working overseas, and they went on a little trip together. And during the trip, she almost really injured her arm, and they had to go to a doctor in a foreign country. Why did I say country? Country. And the whole thing is you can imagine that's such a disorienting and upsetting experience. She thought she broke her arm, and you don't speak the language, and you're going to see a doctor. And I went to doctors when I lived in Italy, and the whole experience is very different from seeing a doctor, first of all, in your native tongue, and just the way offices are set up. It doesn't really, to me, it did not set me at ease. All disorienting, all upsetting. And my dad's recounting the story to me, and he's telling me how he's trying to work in some of his comedy during this interaction with a doctor in a pretty stressful, upsetting situation. He's hilarious, and it's always very upsetting when it's at the wrong times.
Does he know that it's at the wrong time, and he's just kind of doing it's like a shtick? Yeah.
He does know, and he told me his feelings about that. He was they were trying to get an x-ray done, and he leaned into this doctor who they're communicating through Google Translate. My sister's upset. She's possibly broken her arm. They don't know where they are. Someone just picked them off the side of the road. And my dad takes this time to lean into an arm doctor and be through Google Translate, do you think you could take out my appendix while we're here? Such a dad joke. Not funny. I would not be laughing. I would be so annoyed if it was me in that stressful situation. And I was did the doctor laugh? Did he get it? And he was no, he didn't get it. I don't give a fuck. Fuck him. I don't care if they get it.
It's for me.
He literally said that. He was with the jokes, if they don't get it, fuck them. He said that to me.
He's my role model.
4 different times. He said that to me 4 times during our breakfast. He was just fuck them. It was so funny. And the whole time, I'm just feeling for my sister in that moment, because I have been the injured child of my father so many times when he is very busy making jokes and not giving a fuck. And it's so frustrating.
Fuck him about his own kid. Fuck him.
Yeah. He's I'm at this hospital to see where my jokes land, but also don't care if they do. Fuck them.
Okay, I don't think that this is not what you're describing, but it does remind me. I guess it might be a dad compulsion to some extent, because my dad, he has a knack for making a joke when things are very tense, and sometimes it works really well because it breaks the ice. Like that often is his role in our family unit because there's four of
Yeah.
us, my mom, my sister, and I. So it's three women and him. And
Yeah.
he's very good at like when we're all getting wound up about stuff, while I would say 25% of the time he also is getting wound up, but the other 75% of the time he's finding a way to slide in a joke and just like whether it pisses us off or makes us laugh, honestly, either way, it
It's
breaks the ice.
effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of his
Yeah.
goal. And I also think he's pretty good at knowing his audience, like, especially with my sister when she's getting really stressed about stuff. I think he knows her well enough to know, like, I'm going to make this joke that kind of disarms her and it works a lot of the times. And it's something that I'm not good at doing with
Hmm.
her because I'm very conscious of her emotions and like wanting to make her feel heard and all these things. But my dad just cuts the
Yeah.
bullshit and makes a joke. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like maybe I
We're
would give your dad
describing
a
very
little
different
credit
things.
that
No,
maybe
we're
10% of the
describing
time he's doing that. Very
no,
different
we're
thing.
we're describing very different things. One
Okay.
of these is a talent, one is very
One is
upsetting.
harmful.
Yeah, no, one is like it's like we're not an emotional fight. It's like somebody has very much injured themselves. We're not sure if we're going to get medical care. We're not even sure if it's communicating. Like tensions are very,
Yeah.
it's not a fight. It's like we're not sure if we're going to get the thing. And then he's like, let me confuse this even more.
Yeah. It's like there's a
It's that kind
problem
of
to
thing.
solve and we need to just solve the
Yes.
problem.
And
Yeah.
he's like, let's make this problem disorienting
Totally.
beyond what it
Let's
already
add
is.
problems to the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, let's add some problems. I think this would be a fun problem. No, I love
Yeah.
him. It is very lovable, but it was just him just saying his philosophy on joke telling. The fact that he doesn't care if people get the joke is I do not relate to that. And it made me laugh so hard. But your
I love
dad, it
it.
sounds like, has an actual talent. That truly is like a superpower. I think if you can disarm the emotional bomb in that moment, that's pretty
Right.
amazing.
It works well. I mean, it doesn't work every time. And like pretty much every time my mom is immediately pissed off. She's like, "What the fuck? Like what? This is the worst timing for you to do
Am I
that." Like we're
still
all
married to you?
yeah, she's like literally she has like a come to Jesus moment where she looks at him and she's like, "Oh, it's still fucking you across the table."
Still
Like
fucking you over there.
doing the same shit. Like, I can't believe I'm still putting up with this bullshit. But I don't know, like me as someone who, first of all, I mean, my dad, I've talked about him so many times, like he's my favorite
He is
person.
a
So
fixture. He is a fixture on this
on this
podcast
podcast, I know,
and
and
in
as he
my
should
heart.
be, as I would want
Yeah.
him to be. But yeah, like when I see it happening, I take it in very purely. I'm like,
You're
he
so
can do
pure.
no wrong. I'm like, he has a reason why he does this all the time. My mom gets annoyed and my sister is like 50-50 with me every time. I'm like, Dad did something. Dad did a thing. It's working. It's working for me. Is it working for you guys? Oh no. Everyone's upset. Oh, I still love this man. So I don't
Uh,
know. I have
it's
rose-colored glasses
hilarious.
on when it comes to him.
Yeah.
Um and I do feel like I remember your dad being hilarious. Like just at when
He's
we would like
so
go to your
funny.
house for a graduation party or something and he would
So
be
weird.
doing like magic tricks. He was a
Dude.
classic. He loved the finger, pretending that his finger didn't he used to do that? Pretending that his finger was like cut off and doing that
Yeah,
whole
it's a
thing.
classic. It's a
I feel like
classic.
I like when I think of your dad, I think of him doing that. So I love
Terrible.
that he has
What a
like
legacy.
a philosophy on jokes. Did he ever think about being an entertainer? Because he has so many
he
talents like that.
he literally used to like do paid gig magic shows because he's act genuinely beyond the fucking finger trick. He's a genuinely a very good magician. It's
Yeah.
something that's marred me. Like I think all of my siblings and I have ended up in the situation where a guy will try and like impress us maybe by like doing a magic trip, and I'm like, "Ooh, that one's not gonna work." I'm like, "That one's not
That's
gonna work," because
so funny.
yeah, it's a funny thing where I'm like, "Oh, that was good,"
You're like,
but
"Oh, is it
that was
because you
good.
know what's happening or because your dad's so much better?"
Oh, because
Or
he's
both?
just so much better. So I'm like a little shitty snobby about it.
That's so fu
No,
what a
he
funny
wouldn't
thing to be snobby about.
move
Um,
it along.
yeah, what
Yeah.
else is happening? What's on
Somebody
your radar today?
I want to celebrate some listener DMs.
Please.
I read all the DMs, and People are always sending us, you guys fucking get it. People are sending us what we want to hear, which are your petty complaints.
Yes. Yes.
I think somebody knocked it out of the park so hard. I'm like, this is it.
I think I know
This
the
is
one.
this is it. Yes, I think you do. I'm gonna read this. Jess, Jess emailed, DM'd us.
Yeah, not me, Jess,
Not
a
you.
listener. Yeah.
Jess DM'd us in response to nothing. She sent this at 3 a.m. Amazing.
I didn't read.
It's 3 a.m. Well, who knows where she lives, but for me it was 3
True.
a.m. and that's perfect. Petty complaint or something. Couples that talk about their sleeping habits, like X snores and Y wakes up whenever I roll over. I don't care unless the guy is like reciting recipes out loud. I do not care, and it's not funny.
Perfect. Just perfect submission.
It's so perfect. And I was like driving around this morning, laughing about it in the car, thinking about why this is so my brand of petty complaint, because I think it's so benign. It's so
Yeah,
benign.
so harmless.
Like, it's so harmless, and like everyone does it, like I've done it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's so obnoxious. Like, who gives a fuck?
Literally no one cares.
Literally
No one cares.
Literally nobody cares. Who the
Yeah.
fuck cares? I say a lot of people do it. I've done it, and it's so benign. It's so benign.
I loved it. I mean, immediately when I saw that, we do read all the DMs. We don't respond to all of them because there's just too many to respond to each one. But that one, I was like, Jess gets through. She gets through the gate. I'm going to respond to her. You crushed this. Like, it was incredible. And I've seen a lot of memes and stuff too that it reminded me of, where people will be like, oh, I saw this meme one time that was like, choose the partner that you're going to be happy to ask every morning, how did you sleep? And I was like,
No, but I
interesting.
guess I'll be alone.
Well,
Alone.
yeah. I was like, I don't care how anyone slept. Other than myself, I do not care how you slept.
I don't
But
even care
people
how I
ask
sleep.
that
I'm not
question.
sleeping. You don't see
That's
me
true.
complaining about it. Whatever. Like, I don't even care how I sleep. Who needs
But
it?
then the audacity of people to like make their sleep a conversation topic with other
because
people.
it's like a little bit intimate, and it's like, why are you sharing this intimate thing? But they're doing it in a cute way, but it's not cute to anyone else. It's like, this is a cute story if I'm in love with your husband, which
Yeah.
I happen to not be. And then I cracked me up that Jess, who DM'd us, was like, and it's not funny, because I never really thought that anyone was implying these stories were funny.
Are funny. But
so
people
funny.
giggle, but they laugh. And you know why they're laughing? Because it's awkward, because they just said something and no one is giving them a response. And then they start laughing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, was that supposed to be funny? They're just laughing to cover the dead air because whatever they just shared wasn't interesting to anyone. That's funny.
Anyone sleeps. I don't care how anyone has been sleeping. That is fucking hilarious.
truly
Don't ever
don't.
tell me how you slept.
It's like when you go on a trip with friends or family and you come downstairs in the Airbnb
Yeah, you're
and
like,
people
oh,
are
I
like,
guess we
how
gotta
did you
start talking
sleep?
about something.
Yeah, because what other question are you going to ask at like 8 a.m. when someone just woke up? But it's
What
also
about
like there's
silence?
nothing to talk about yet.
I have said this before, and I'll say it again until people start listening. What about silence?
What about
Have
it?
y'all tried silence? What about it? Have you guys tried it? I don't need to talk to you.
Yeah.
Just
What are
because
you
I'm
drinking?
looking at you doesn't mean I need to talk to you. Oh my gosh. Do you want to be influenced for a moment? I'm drinking
Yeah, I do.
Poppy prebiotic soda.
Okay.
They're really good. I would drink these. I'm gonna sound like an ad right now. I would drink these even if they weren't. I'm not drinking it because it's prebiotic. I'm drinking it because it's the fucking soda. It's so good.
Right. I'll make sure that it's not an ad by mentioning 2 other brands that are competitors. So I love the prebiotic soda trend that's happening right now. Olipop and Culture Pop, I think, are 2 other ones. And I've been on a mission to
I immediately have a
try
complaint,
all of
but
them. Okay, go
yeah.
ahead.
I
mean,
have a complaint about,
to be clear, same as you, it's not because it's prebiotic. It's just because it's soda that I can feel okay about drinking. Go on.
Okay, cool. I'll allow it. I have a complaint. I've been thinking about this, about a couple different like health food brands I've noticed recently that are putting the word culture in their name. And I understand where it's coming from, because like cultures and good bacteria, whatever. And it's like, but are you like, I have such a strong visceral reaction to hearing that word associated with food. Just call it a yeast infection. Like, I don't want to hear the word culture. There's like good culture yogurt or cottage cheese and
Cottage
like
cheese.
whatever
Yeah.
pop cult. Like, I don't, I understand they did a really great creative brainstorm, and what a fun like scientific word we can throw in, and it's also the culture of our brand. And but you know what, I'm just thinking about mold in like a vagina, so I kind of don't want to eat that cottage cheese now, and I don't want that soda.
Yeah, you're spot on. I feel like I don't really know if I have anything else to say about it. I just agree. Like, it has been more popular lately than
I've
ever
noticed it.
before.
I
All
don't know,
these
I've noticed it
brands.
with a few and with food brands, and I'm just like, I can't.
Well, there's also the cottage cheese movement, which I feel like I alerted you to, and you just
I didn't know
ran
that was
with right away.
I
It's
did.
a
I actually
movement.
did. I did run with it against my best efforts. I did run with it because cottage cheese is objectively offensive, but I've been gulping it.
I
It's
have
good.
too, and I don't it's not good. No, 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 but the thing is, I don't
No, it is
it's not
good.
good. You have to top
No,
it with stuff. Are you just eating it out of the carton? Because it's not good. You have to
listen,
put
I'm
things on it or in it to make it good. Please,
actually
be
the
honest with
brand
me.
the brand that I hate, Good Culture. It's amazing. I think you're the
It's
one who told me to get it,
I
and
am.
I gotta tape over the name, like the brand name on the dish or whatever, but on the container. But it is amazingly good,
Do you
and
get
I will like.
flavored or
I
regular?
don't think so. What the fuck is a flavored cottage
They have
cheese?
flavored
Please
ones. It's
stop. No,
weird.
I'm just putting it like on toast with like blueberries and honey, and it's a great time.
Yeah, correct, because you have to dress it up. You're not just eating it out of the carton. That's my
Yeah,
point.
nobody should be eating wet curdled cheese with a
No,
spoon.
but they were. They were back in the
No,
day. That's before
no.
cottage cheese had this
It
like
that's a
rebrand.
that is a bucket of a yeast infection. That is so upsetting to me.
It's what
It's
people were
so
doing
gross to
until
look.
the recent rebrand of cottage cheese. Like in 2023,
What are
they have
you saying?
rebranded
As
as
the
a
Robin
product,
Hood?
as a cheese.
No, what do you
They've
mean? Like the
gone through a
cottage cheese
marketing effort.
lobby? There's a
Yeah,
cottage
the
cheese
cottage
lobby.
cheese,
What do you mean
big
all of them got together and rebranded?
big cottage cheese said we got to change our brand.
It's not real.
If you think back to our lunchroom in middle school where there was
Oh,
a
don't make
salad
me.
bar.
Don't make me. There was so much trauma in that lunchroom.
I know that I do agree, but there was a salad bar,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the items in the salad bar was cottage cheese, all gloopy and just like
Open, just
square,
open
all
to the
white.
public in a buffet so everyone can sneeze on it.
Exactly,
Disgusting.
exactly. And I never once tried it. I was like, this is some white people shit. We've never had this in my home. Like, I don't know what this shit is. But some people were eating it and they would just scoop it into their bowl and like eat it as is. And that's what I'm talking
You
about.
know what
My
else?
whole life,
You know
that's
what
how I
else
thought
people
of
ate?
cottage cheese until
You
now.
know who?
The
Yeah, that's what
rebrand.
it is. Out of a giant goop. That's probably why I also didn't like it. But you know what else we were eating in middle school? I remember someone paid Colleen Gallagher to eat mud. Like she literally ate mud one day. Like we
We
were
did.
bored. We were
It
bored.
was huge. I used to
I
sell. I
it
used
was
to try to
huge.
sell, not in middle school, but in elementary school. I used to try to sell mud pies that I would make on like the
She's an
playground.
entrepreneur. She's an entrepreneur.
I've been trying to monetize shit my whole life. I would like create these little pies that are like a leaf with mud on it and like twigs and try to sell them to people on the playground.
At what age? You're like 14,
At like
16?
5 at like 5 or 6. I mean, did anyone have cash on the playground? No, but I was
No.
trying to like have a business, like a lemonade stand, but mud
Yeah.
pies.
You
Yeah.
didn't research the market deeply
No, I
enough.
didn't I didn't do a lot of
Maybe these
competitive
children have
analysis.
dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in middle school I would do drawings of SpongeBob and try to sell them to people.
I actually remember that. Yeah. Yeah, I do
I'm
remember
I'm
that.
really honored that you remember that. It's
I
still
remember
like
that. I
the
think that
main
was the
thing I
time
can
when I was
draw.
like,
If you ask me to draw something, I'll draw you SpongeBob. I can't draw anything else.
anything I can draw. I want to go to like a paint and sip class with you where they show you like a floral landscape you have to do. And at the end, everyone shows their painting, and yours is just a seventh grader's sketch of SpongeBob.
I can throw Squidward and Patrick in there, but yeah, it's just that gang. I can't do anything
It's
else.
just that. That's hilarious.
Okay, well,
Okay, that's enough.
that's enough of that.
That's enough.
That's enough of that. Let me open my notes.
I have things, but I feel like I keep forcing us to
No,
talk
do
about other
more.
stuff.
Let me like
Do
take
you
a
want? I'm
quick
gonna give you
glance.
choose your own adventure.
Okay,
Um,
I like when we do that.
do you want? I actually have a couple. I have a couple like sincere reflections.
I think we should.
I I have I have some sweet little date update. I
I think we
have
should go sincere and then get to some other things.
yeah.
You know,
Okay.
mix it up.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, something I've been thinking, okay. Something I've been thinking a lot about this week is I've been realizing gradually how much my personal sense of value and worth is dependent on me having um like the quality of my social interactions.
Yeah.
Like if I have a bad phone call with a friend, or not even a bad like there's a fight, but just like maybe we're both in a funk and it's not like the most invigorating catch up phone call, that can like ruin me for a week. And somehow my sense, truly like my own self-esteem, is completely wrapped up in that. And but it so my esteem will also drop if I just like haven't, of course, if I haven't seen anyone for a while. It's not just that I get lonely. I don't even get lonely. It's that if I haven't had like a good social interaction in a while, I genuinely just start feeling like I'm bad.
Hmm.
And then, maybe I have a lunch with a friend or a hangout or a something. And if it doesn't end up being this like really highly connected experience, it just compounds and compounds and compounds. And for me, it translates into feeling like I'm low quality, I guess. And I've just been noticing how that is something that fluctuates. First of all, that fluctuates kind of hour to hour, if you have like one weird interaction or something, day to day, week to week. And in me, it's fluctuating as much as my mood or my hormones or my energy level or stressors throughout the day. It's like this other thing that's fluctuating throughout my life to one of the like ingredients in the recipe of like my wellness. And I don't think it's at a very healthy level right now. Like I really derive my sense of like goodness or evilness from whether I
Mm.
had a connected conversation with somebody I care about. And it's not always in your control. Like you don't always get to control if you guys are like super both like tuned into that conversation, or like maybe you just had an off day, or if you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just something I've been thinking about a lot, and I really spiral on it. And I just feel really, I'm just noticing like how unstable I am around that. I don't know, does that make sense?
More than you could even understand. Yeah. I relate to that a lot. And it's funny, crazy, I don't know the word, because I feel like I was putting a finger on that this week, like
Mm,
kind of starting to realize that about myself. Or maybe it's something I've realized before, but this week it came up again. So that's pretty interesting that it was for you too. Um, I really don't even know where to begin with my like response or reactions to it. I just very much relate, and I really don't know the way out because I feel in it too. And to some
yeah.
degree, I'm like, I mean, it's better than deriving my self-worth and my value from some other stuff. Like I used to derive a lot of my value from my career and like if I was doing well at my job and getting promoted and things like that. And I really don't do that anymore. Um, I guess, you could say I still do in a way if we're considering this a part of my career or what my like future career hopes to be. And so I probably do derive value from this, but my day job I don't, and that's been a big shift that's important to me, and like what my
Yeah.
manager thinks of me and my boss thinks of me, that stuff isn't in the equation anymore. And so that was a big shift and a big like level up in terms of where I get my self-worth in the last couple years. But I all it's done is like amplify, I think, how much I get it and need it and rely on it from my social interactions and my friendships and my relationships. And I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. It's like there's worse places to get it, but it doesn't feel good
Yeah.
that my mood is so up and down and fluctuates so much depending on how an interaction went. Like I put a lot of pressure on myself. I don't know if you feel this way and if this is what you were alluding to, but I put a lot of pressure on myself to like perform well almost in
Totally.
interactions. So if I didn't feel like I brought enough fun energy, enough insightful energy, enough supportive energy, enough jokes, enough whatever in an interaction with a friend or a hangout or something, um, then I leave it feeling like that was kind of weird. I didn't do my best. Like it's almost like I'm scoring myself against like when I have showed up really full and really vivacious and like bringing what was needed to it. And that's a weird pressure to put on yourself because like there's two people there or more than
Yeah.
two. And other people, I don't know if the people on the receiving end are like thinking about it the way that I'm thinking about it. If they are, I feel like they're probably thinking about themselves more than they're thinking about me.
Mhm.
I don't know if that helps or not. Does any of this make sense?
Totally. Yeah. I really relate to that. The performative part, like I have to provide some kind of value. It's a little bit true and it's a little bit sick. And it's something that I've actually been doing like a intentional job of trying to grow out of that. Because I know that my and your value as a friend actually is not just the jokes that you tell or how much you entertain them. I've been trying to like, what gets lost then is like, what about my experience here? What about my experience to show up and just like experience what this moment has to offer? Um, like what am I here to receive? Because we're both here to receive.
Mhm.
So I've actually been, I think as an anxious person, as an insecure person, these are things we all feel. My way of dealing with that is getting very performative, talking a lot, making a lot of jokes, not being a good listener. And actually, the best moments of connection for me come when I'm like listening better, when I shut my fucking mouth. And when I don't try to force a certain energy and just come with like the honest energy. Usually, those close people meet you there, and I know you know that.
Yeah.
Um, but you still don't get to control if you both. I mean, even with sometimes a best friend or a family member or whoever, like you still don't get to control like when the maximum moments of connection happen. And
Mm.
I just totally like I don't know. It becomes a moral issue for me. I feel like it makes me feel like I'm bad. It's like kind of makes me want to cry talking about it. I don't know
Yeah.
why. But yeah, and I don't like you, like I don't know. I don't think there's that much to do. It's like it's something you don't control. Something that did help, I noticed this week was going out and doing new things because there are a lot of different ways to feel connected. It's not all in interpersonal moments. I went out and I had the first night on this like volleyball team I
Mm.
joined and strangers, but we were just like out in like a sandy like volleyball court in the summer or spring. What season is it? Like playing volleyball and laughing and that like I felt connected to the world even with people I didn't know. And so that was yeah, I guess it's not even just about getting it interpersonally is just like moments of connection, even if it's just to the world generally. So that felt like I can control that. And that's something I can go and do. It really lifted me up.
Yeah.
But it's honestly, it's nice to hear that someone as sparkly
Mm.
and like genuine and full-hearted as you feels that way too. Cause I really end up taking that and feeling like it's because I'm rotten. It's because there's something wrong or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I thank you for saying that. I have like so many reactions to what you just said. I feel like it's hard because, okay, just speaking more about my personal experience, and then I have some questions, I guess, about some of what you talked about. Um,
You're a great project
That's
manager. This is the
hilarious.
agenda.
This is the agenda. Yeah, I feel like because I'm this person that is known to be like good at the interpersonal and like good at connecting and like supportive and caring and like have a rich social life and a lot of close friends. And all of that is true about me. But I also feel like I've kind of like, I don't think anyone else holds me to this high standard or something, but I've
Mm,
interpreted that to hold myself to a really high standard of
that's like your value. That's
that's
why
who I
people
am.
like you.
Yeah, not only my value, but it's like it's my identity.
Mm,
And so when I'm having these types of struggles, it like launches me into an identity
yeah.
crisis where I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, like I'm supposed to be this person that like brings the humor and the energy to an event or brings the thought-provoking questions and listening to an event or like whatever's happening, I'm the person that can read the room and like deliver what the room needs." And um, I do think that that is like a talent or a skill or like something that
Right.
I'm pretty good at. But at the same time, I can't be that 100% of the time.
That is a
But
lot of
because,
pressure.
yeah, but because it's like informed my identity up to this point, it's something that I've gotten feedback that I'm good at. And it's something that's helped me to develop deep, close relationships when I don't feel I can bring that. And I've been feeling that way more and more as I get older, as my life gets busier, as I become more selfish about the way that I need to spend my time and my energy, um,
Mm-hmm.
it's really created this identity crisis where I'm like, that's what I've always been. And I'm not being able to like do that as much. Um, okay, so that's just like a little more double click on me. But then
Yeah,
you also
totally.
said something about like the maximum level that an interaction can reach or something like if this time hanging out with this friend doesn't feel like the max that we've had before.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
does that sound
that's
crazy?
well I felt it too. I've thought that way too, but it did sound wild hearing someone else say it. Like I felt
Yeah.
that way, but then when you said it, I was like, "What?" But I've thought that and I felt that. So I don't know. I just thought that was like an interesting thing to pause on. I don't know if you want to like say more about it, but I found that
It's
super.
I mean, yeah, hearing you repeat it back, I'm like, God, it's just repeat back what I said. It's like, it's just total insecurity. It's the definition of insecurity, thinking like, I don't know, is this a sure thing? Is this a sure thing?
Yeah.
Um, are you gonna stay? Like, are you sure
Yeah.
you like me? It's it's like I need to, I don't fully trust me. I don't know. I think that's what it is. Or worried that like, well, if it's not at the max and you don't feel the max connected to me, then will I see you again?
Yep.
That kind of thing.
I have that
Um,
same compulsion. Yeah.
yeah.
It's like a fear of abandonment trigger. And
Yeah.
like,
I'd never really thought I don't know. I feel like I knew the things I do struggle with in interpersonal relationships. I'd never thought fear of abandonment as one of them. And recently I'm like, I don't know. It might
yep.
be up there. Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
that realization about myself like a year ago. I
Mm,
think I've had that fear my whole life, but
mm,
I didn't actually like call it that until like a year ago. And I know I've known what that is. And I've heard people throw around that term before and talk about themselves or other people in that way. I've heard it in
Yeah.
like therapy type conversations, but I never related to it. And then when I started to explore this topic, and it shows up in friendships, it shows up in romantic partnerships, it shows up in any type of relationship that I have. I was like, oh, I guess that is a fear of abandonment. Like I never
Yeah.
used those words for it, but I have this compulsion to like make sure that I leave you on like the best note. Like I want to leave every interaction that I have with any person
Mhm.
on like the best it's ever been, so that they keep coming back, or so that they don't
So much
forget me,
pressure. So much
so that I'm
pressure.
not forgotten, so that I'm not lost, so that they want to come back for more. And then, but then it's like the bar has to be raised every time. So now then I want them to come back, and then they come back. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, now I have to do it again, but better. And like that
And
keeps going forever. It's sick.
it's also like, even though of course people do love you for those qualities and talents, and those are like real talents you have, it also like it can't be your value. It's not. And like it can't, it's not your whole identity. This idea that, and I relate to it, but I know intellectually, I know, if not
Yeah.
emotionally, that like people don't spend time with me just because of like something I provide to them. Um, in a way, yes, like in a way, all friendships actually are an exchange. Like we both get something out of this. It's not a one-way thing, but there's some kind of subtlety there of like just being, just like being together, instead of delivering something to them. And it's like something I'm always like trying to like resettle into.
Hmm.
But um yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have any good
I can see
takeaways. It's just
you
something that's
getting
on my mind.
emotional.
Yeah, I
I
don't know
can see
why.
your
Yeah.
eyes like welling up. I wish I could be next to you, but yeah, I this is like wow, it's really crazy that you brought this up today, because I was literally having this conversation a couple of days ago.
Oh yeah.
Um yeah, and just like I was explaining it to my boyfriend, because I think he like observes this about me, but doesn't fully understand it cuz he's really not this way. And I was like, yeah, I feel like I have to like provide. I have to like give. Oh, Caroline. I have to
No, I'm
like give
good.
something to people. I have to like solve their problem or make them laugh or unlock like a new deep finding. Like
You don't. You
I
really
have to
don't.
like do something in every interaction, and if I don't, I feel like I didn't do enough and like I'm going to lose them. Like they're
I
and I
understand.
don't think about other people in that way. Like what you're saying
This is what
about
I'm
the
gonna say.
two-way street.
Like
It's like I
you
don't
don't,
expect that of
expect
any of
that.
my friends. Yeah.
You like, what do you want from them actually? Like what do you want from them? You want them to just like show up and trust. I guess I'll say for myself, I just like want them to show up and trust me with like wherever they are in that moment. And certainly that's the same for them about you.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like attaching your identity um to your ability to make people laugh or to lift them up, um none of us would say these are superficial things, but in a way it's kind of, I want to say it's like it's almost as dangerous as coupling your identity to like how you look or
Mhm.
something. It's like maybe it's not as dangerous, but it's there's just
It's all for other
neither
people.
of those things are your inherent value.
Yeah.
There's just inherent value there, without you having to provide something. I don't know, I'm obviously talking to myself, so easier said than done, but it's like heartbreaking for me to hear you say that about yourself.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just an endless loop in my head about like my identity being so closely tied to what I
Yeah.
give to others, what I do for others, what I make people
Yes.
feel. And I don't know. I don't know. I think it's like okay to some degree, but
No, it is.
at the
I
point
really,
where
I'm
at
so
the point
worried that
that
it
you were
came.
talking about, no, but you're talking about like a next level thing where you're like, if I I don't know. There's still a point where it's no longer good, where like we're putting too much pressure on ourselves and we come back feeling like bad people or like worthless or
Well,
something, you
yes,
know?
because I don't think that that in you is bad at all. I want to be so clear about that. I think what I'm referencing is like a huge thing I worked through in therapy, where this was like a mantra I still have written down like in my notes, and I look at it every day, uh, of just like, what if you didn't have to do anything? Like, what if when you
Yeah.
showed up and saw this person, you didn't have to be anyway? What if you didn't have to do anything? Like, what would that experience be like? And the answer never ends up being they would leave you. The answer is usually like peace for you and a whole different level of connection between the people.
Mm,
Like, um, yeah, I don't think it's better or worse. It was just it's something I'm still working on, of like this antidote to the anxiety of like I have to deliver.
yeah.
Um yeah, like I don't know, it's something I still think when I'm walking into a situation where I'm like, I hope I show up in the right way. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, okay, what if you didn't have to do anything? What if you got to just like be here and receive what it's like to be here with this person? And the answer is never like that I'm sitting there tight-lipped and giving them nothing. It's like
Right.
you're just experiencing in a much more open way. It's actually a relinquishing of control, I guess, of like, because the alternative is like, I know how this needs to go down, and so I'm going to make it XYZ way. And instead you get to like discover something different. Listen, all of this is like, I struggle with this. I don't know. I don't know. This is what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
working on.
Yeah, like theoretically what you're describing sounds right. I'm like totally bought in as you talk about it. And my therapist has told me that same thing a million times about like what if you didn't have to do anything?
Oh my
But
God.
I
It's
mean,
like that,
implementing
it
it is
wrecked me.
impossible.
It
Yeah,
blew me apart. I was like, what do you mean I don't
I
have
was like,
to?
what are you? Yeah, it makes no sense to me. I'm
Well,
like,
what if
not,
I fire you? How about I fire you?
yeah,
Yeah,
you're not doing enough. Yeah.
you're not doing
Yeah,
enough.
you should do more for me.
You should do more. Paid
I pay
service.
you.
They should. They literally should. That's a very different scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah, yeah,
anything
yeah,
I
yeah.
say on here, basically anything I have opinions on here, are things I'm failing at. And that's why I
Yeah.
put a lot of thought towards it, because I'm like, all right, I got to figure this out. But it's stuff I'm failing at. Yeah, I'm in the
I
loop.
think that I think we considered that as I don't know if it was as a name for the podcast or as a name for like a
Oh,
segment or something, like
what?
very early. Things I'm failing at. You suggested
Oh,
it
I
months
did
ago.
say that. Yeah, things I'm failing at. It was something like that.
Something like
Ooh,
that.
should we
Yeah.
read out some of the names we considered?
Oh, that's a good call. Let's see. They're like
Let's
somewhere at
pick
the
it
bottom
up.
of this note.
Yes. Wow, these are so good.
Right. Everything I'm doing wrong. That's the one. That was
Everything
one
I'm
of your
doing wrong
ideas.
is what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
Um
Schoolgirls. That was one.
Guys, don't take one of our great podcast names. Actually, I guess you can. I think this was a pretty good one. Did I stutter?
Yeah. Well, that just
I
makes me think
liked
of Stanley in The Office. Did I stutter? Yeah.
Did I stutter?
Um, Petty Pod, All Talk.
Petty pod. I like petty
We
pod.
love
These are great.
alliteration.
Um rude but hot, I think, was one of my proposals. Rude by hot
Or
but hot.
mentally hot. Because I feel like at
Mentally
some point
hot.
we were like texting each other that a lot. Like, I'm so glad you're my partner. You're so mentally
Yeah,
hot.
mentally hot. A lot of them were just
Yeah.
things we were saying. This one, actually, I still stand by this. This is the unofficial. This is really what our tagline for the podcast is: just science. Just science. I'm a scientist. Everything's
Just
a fact.
scientists. Just two scientists.
Just two accredited
Yeah.
scientists.
Instead of opening with we're a lover and a hater, it should be we're two scientists.
We're scientists. We're not scientists. Seek professional help. We're not professionals. I've said it every
I
time.
mean, would you ask a scientist for help with your like existential crisis? Probably not. I mean,
Probably
is a
not.
therapist a scientist? I think they're different.
That's true.
You know?
Do you remember? I feel like this was mostly just a thing in cartoons, but maybe it was in old timey movies too. Do you remember this, like, kind of, I don't even want to call it a trope, but it was just like a thing people were doing, and I've never seen someone do it in real life, where they were, I feel like cartoons were always like taking apples And instead of washing them, they were like rubbing one spot on their like suit jacket. And that, like, what was that about? Was that like an effective like sanitation method, or what was happening there?
Wow. What I'm picturing, and I didn't even watch this show, but I'm picturing Mad Men, like some like spiffy, like
Yeah, maybe it was
1950s
on there.
gentleman who's like trying to show off. I
Yeah.
feel like it's like a
It's like a
status
boys club
symbol.
way of eating your apple,
Yeah,
but it's
like
like
I'm
they
not just gonna
just
eat this. I need it to be shiny, you know.
yeah. I think somebody once was like, well, the friction kills the bacteria on that one spot. Then they eat the whole apple. No one's like fucking taking a bite, rubbing the other corner, taking a bite, getting it down to a nub and rubbing it on their coat. Like, can't
I
you
just want
get,
to
don't you
keep
have
doing
running
this.
water? Yeah, what is that? I hate that. I hate
I guess
that.
Bugs Bunny. I feel like I can picture
Yes,
Bugs Bunny doing it.
I feel like it was always in a cartoon. And I'm like, are the cartoons harkening back to something people used to do with their apples? I hate it.
Maybe there's no I was gonna say maybe there's no running water in cartoons.
That's true.
What's that
Maybe
mean?
maybe the cartoons were made up.
Oh yeah, maybe that. Probably not that.
maybe that.
Probably not. I would probably say that a talking rabbit is actually really factual and based
It's a
on true
well, it's a
events.
documentary. Yeah.
It's a documentary for
Okay.
sure.
Have you ever seen the documentary Looney Tunes?
Wait, that's another thing to gaslight people on, like the telling people
Yeah.
they made a meme. You can gaslight people on like, oh yeah, my favorite documentary is SpongeBob SquarePants. Ever heard of it? It's based in Bikini
Scam.
Bottom.
It's based in Bikini Bottom. This is a segment. Okay, here's a segment called "The Next Thing I Feel Like Saying," which is that I don't know if I shared this on the podcast. I don't think I did because I was just feeling shameful, but I took a break from dating over the last couple months, which is pretty much the only way to survive dating. You have to like
You
stop
have to.
dating for extended periods of time. I'm dating, I'm like on for a week, I'm off for 2 months. And I really needed it. I was just so fed up. I was so fed up with spending all this time with fucking strangers. And I had this like terribly upsetting miscommunication, breakup, whatever it was with this dude, and the whole thing blew my butthole, to use the clinical
Your
term. Yeah.
all the hair was singed off
it
immediately.
told it blew my whole butt strip. And but I got back on the apps this weekend, and I do have a date. I have a date for this evening, actually. It's gonna be my first date back on the fucking horse. I already want to shoot myself in the head.
You're like,
Even
wait, am I
talking about
really
it,
saying this right now?
even talking about the fact that I'm talking about it like it's like, well, I'm starting rounds of chemo, like I'm some fucking hero. Like you just going on a stupid
It
date,
is
you bitch.
heroic. It is
It's
heroic to
heroic.
take a break from dating and come back to it. I feel like that's interesting. I feel like maybe not
I am
enough
celibate.
people.
I'm
Oh, right. You
celibate.
wanted to be
I'm
celibate, so now you are.
staying celibate.
Cool.
I'm really committed to being celibate.
Okay. I like
Um,
that. I like that a lot.
thank you. I like it too.
No, I feel like people
And
don't take enough breaks. Like, I don't
yeah,
know. People don't realize that they should. Sometimes if you're feeling like this isn't fun anymore,
totally.
take a break. Like, it doesn't mean keep going and like running yourself into a wall until it's
Corroding
fun again.
yourself.
It's not
And
going to
yeah,
be.
I think I start making worse decisions too. And what I really noticed, after this like final breakup I had with this guy, we only went on a couple dates, but it was like it was a breakup. Like there was a phone call. It really devastated my self-esteem. Which not because of rejection. Like I can handle rejection.
Yeah.
Nobody likes it, but like it's actually funny enough. It's like it's actually not really personal. It's just like you're not for everybody. It's fine. Hashtag not for everyone. But I'm fine with rejection. I think probably being an actor, like I really do think that got me like
Yeah.
I'm just down. Like I know rejection was my job. I'm just very I feel like I went through a decades long boot camp in it. Um but just some specifics about this break off like really hurt my self-esteem. And it was the kind of thing where I was waking up every day in my own apartment and just feeling like, God, you're such a loser. And
Mhm.
I don't know, it was a feeling that I actually hadn't had since my breakup of my 6-year relationship, like not
Wow.
once in living alone and moving across the country, in grieving, in living in my apartment alone. Never once had I had this feeling. And then this breakup, this weird little mini fucking breakup just had me feeling so badly about myself. And I had this feeling then when I was then swiping on the apps, like maybe looking for a next date, that I could just sense how much more likely I was to I was just like ready to lower the standards. I was just ready to
Mm.
lower my standards for people so much. I was already thinking through like, oh, it's fine if they're like this, or it's fine if they say that shitty thing, or it's fine if I just like need to go on another date, or it's fine if they do this to me. Really is a result of my self-esteem dropping so much, which like no fucking shit, but it was like interesting to note for me that I feel like I have such strong values. I know what I believe in. I know what I want from people. I certainly know what I don't want. I know how I don't want to be treated. I know what I'm not going to tolerate. And all of that was so dependent on me having like healthy self-esteem. And as soon as my self-esteem dropped, all of those things I felt so secure on also dropped. So it just made me think about sometimes when I'm talking to a friend or somebody who's like having a hard time dating and I feel like they're just doing themselves a disservice and like putting up with behavior they do not need to put up with and dealing with people they do not need to deal with. I'm like, I can look at these individuals and be like, oh, they really actually have really low self-esteem in this moment. And so it doesn't, it's not really helpful of me to be like, oh, you don't have to put up with that shit. It's like
Yeah.
I think I was overlooking this thing where like that person, like they're feeling really bad about themselves. Maybe that's like a no shit kind of revelation, but I just saw the change in myself and it kind of opened my eyes a little bit. So taking a break felt like I need to rebuild my sense of self. And then I'm going to go back in and be able to make better decisions in dating. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I don't think that's no shit. Like it is as you say it, I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, but I get really frustrated watching some of my friends who I think are like the best people in the world lowering their standards and like putting
Yeah.
up with subpar communication, subpar treatment, subpar anything.
Right.
And I sometimes oversimplify it, I think, in like being the friend that's listening and giving advice. And I'm just like,
Totally.
why are you? I want to shake them and be like, and I
Right.
try to be pretty honest and direct with these friends who are close enough where I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you know that that's not good enough for you. And so move on from it. There are,
Yeah.
all these things, all these tropes that like people tell you when you're dating and they're not helpful in the moment. And it's hard to make the connection of like, why isn't that helpful? Because once you take a step
Mhm.
back from it, it's all very obvious. But when you're in it and you're so like
Yeah.
deflated, it's not
I
helpful for your friend to be like, you're better than that and you don't need to put up with this. Like,
yes.
you're
I
not in a
think I
place to
used
hear that and remember it when you're at those lows.
I think I used to because it's like the kind of what did you say? What how did you describe it? Dealing with subpar
Subpar communication and things like that and treatment.
there was lowering your standards, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a degree of having your standards too low that's like a very you see in like really young like when you're younger,
Yeah.
not that I'm the oldest person on earth, but like when you're less experienced, you've less
Early in
experience
dating.
dating, or
Yeah.
you're in middle school or high school or college or after whenever you're starting dating, you don't have a ton of experience. You don't know necessarily if you weren't raised with a good sense of self respect, you know, then you have to learn it first. You have to get the experience
Yeah.
first. So I think I used to kind of judge it and be like, oh, they just don't have the experience. Oh, they just don't have the maturity. But there, and so that can be it. But I think there's also a level of like your esteem could have been devastated, even if you have the maturity, even if you know these things. I don't know,
Yeah.
intellectually, because I could see it go in and out for myself, and I was like, oh, this is the factor that's changing it. Yeah,
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
Because it can be somebody who like you could come out of one relationship or dating experience and know and actually have more self-esteem and like come out of it and be like, oh, that showed me that I'm so much better than this and I deserve
Yeah,
more and whatever. And then you operate in that way for a while, but then you could come out of a different one with so much lower self-esteem. And yeah, it's so interesting how that fluctuates. It probably is the root of a lot of a lot of what makes people change their standards. And anyway, we don't need to keep circling on it, but I think it's a good thing to like pinpoint, I guess, and a good thing to notice about
Yeah.
yourself. So
And
it's
I am
helpful.
feeling better about it. It was like pretty shocking to be walking around. It was really weird getting out of bed every day, and I hadn't felt this in so long, and I was just like, you're such a fucking loser. And I was like, is this feeling going to go away, because it lasted for weeks and then it just did.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's comforting to anybody, the feeling
But it
changes,
did,
whatever.
but it also, do you think it helped that you decided to take a break from dating and take a break
Yes,
from the apps? Yeah.
yes,
It didn't just
yes,
go away.
because
You had to remove yourself a little.
oh yes, no, totally. By I think because the alternative is trying to find that sense of validation in somebody else. No, like
Yeah.
you have to find it in yourself first, obviously, you stupid loser. So it was,
And
yeah,
I
it
think
helped.
I also think there's an interesting, like, related conversation here about like short relationships or short dating stints or something, and how they
uh,
can like fuck you up
uh,
more sometimes, which
uh.
we've mentioned before in our,
Yeah.
I think, like, listeners, when we were doing the breakup episode, some people wrote in like, can you talk about when it's like a really short thing and it ends? Like, in a lot of ways, in my personal experience, I feel like that can hurt more because you're almost like, this person didn't like, the feeling you're left with, which isn't true, but it's what you're telling yourself is true in a lot of those situations, is like, this person didn't even want to stick around to get to know more about me. They saw this one thing, it made them
It's such a
deduce
slap.
this
It feels like
about
such a
me.
slap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they deduce something about me that's actually not correct. And then they decided to peace out instead of like giving me more chances or getting to know me better or seeing that they really misjudged me. You feel very misjudged in a lot of those like short relationships that end.
Yeah,
And
you're
it's
like,
kind
oh,
of
I could
like,
explain this. Yeah, they're
right.
just different pains. I feel like it's very profoundly different to go
Yeah.
through a breakup with a long-term attachment. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I want to validate it because
yeah.
I have friends who have been through things like that. I've been through things like that. But I have friends who have told me like, oh, I was talking to so and so about this like 2-month relationship that ended, and they like really belittled it and were like, well, it was short,
What
you'll
is the
bounce back.
fucking value? What is the fucking value of
I
doing that to
know, I
somebody? Shut your
totally
fucking
agree, but
mouth.
it
Just get the
happens.
fuck
It's
out.
so gross how much it
No, I know. It's just
happens.
like, what is the fucking point? What
I
is the
don't
fucking
know,
point?
but if people are dealing with that, like, we're here to tell you,
Fuck
you're,
them, as
yeah,
my dad would
fuck
say.
them,
Fuck
fuck
them.
them.
Fuck them.
There, that's it. Topic closed. That's
If
right.
they don't get it, fuck them. It applies to my dad's jokes and it applies to your short term breakup. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I have a couple other random things.
Yeah, juice me up.
Um,
You didn't react to that. I thought you were gonna react to that. It was
oh,
funny.
juice me up. Oh,
Yeah, I
sorry.
said it. I said it weird.
I think I'm just like used to you doing that. I'm like,
You're
yeah,
tuning me out.
yeah.
You're tuning me out. Yeah, she's just talking. She's still fucking
Yeah,
talking to me.
yeah.
Cool. Still fucking talking.
Okay. What do I want to say? Maybe I don't. Maybe these aren't interesting. I don't know. I wrote down, I want to start a segment. Here it's back to segments. I want to start a segment that is basically going to be me critiquing other podcasts, specifically podcasts who interview. I kind of did this a couple episodes ago. Podcasts that interview people from reality dating shows. Because there are
Okay.
several podcasts that are like bachelor podcasts or podcasts where they have like the Love is Blind people come on and they interview them. And I watch all of them or listen to all of them because I'm just obsessed with reality dating content. And whenever I talk about it on here, I'm like not sure if it's going to land. And then we get a ton of DMs from people who are like equally invested in these shows.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I also watch the podcast where they interview the cast like after the fact, and they do a terrible job of asking the questions that the public want asked and like holding people accountable. And it makes me really angry. And they just let them say stuff like, we're going to do life together instead of getting to the bottom of things. And I'm tired of it because I'm wasting hours of my life watching these podcasts on YouTube. And are they making me do that? No, but I'm doing it anyway. And I'm mad because I'm doing it with the promise and the hope that like I'm going to get some clarity and some closure from these shows. And then I get nothing. I'm left with nothing. So all I'm doing right now is laying the groundwork for this segment that I'd like to have eventually. I don't think I have anything specific to call out today.
Groundwork laid. Groundwork fucking laid, bitch.
I just
gotta get like she just wants an investigative journalist on the case.
I know. I was like, should I start a
Can you
YouTube
imagine?
channel? Like a
It'd be so good.
reaction YouTube
Probably.
channel
Yeah,
about
probably.
where I react to these terrible podcast interviews? I hate it.
Yes.
I hate it.
That's a whole YouTube genre. Yes, you should.
I
You would kill it.
know.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I don't know if the podcast is the right space for it or not. I don't know if it's a segment or if it's going to become a reaction channel somewhere. I'm just throwing it out there that if you have this week watched all of the Love is Blind interviews and been disappointed, you are not alone, and I'm coming to rescue us. I'm coming to save the day. Somehow I'm going to use whatever platform I have to fix this problem in American society. Thank you. Yeah.
What would you title it? Jess is here to help.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I didn't get so far as to title it. It's mostly just a rant. I'm just annoyed. I'm just mad.
Yeah, just
They
mad.
don't ask good questions. They don't ask.
I wonder
anything
if they know. They must know what the questions are that people want to ask, and are they just like not trying to do anything too hard hitting? They just want to make bad television. That's hard to imagine.
I think when the people are there with them, they like feel bad, especially if it's a married couple. Like if it's a couple that's come out of a show, engaged or married,
Yeah.
they kind of people like forget to hold them accountable to the shit they did during the show because they're like, well, now they're together, so we should just support the happy couple. And it's like, no, these people did things that I want answers about, even if now they're like happily with this person.
God.
You know what I mean? Like we treat every
I don't know what you mean.
they treat okay, like people will come out of The Bachelor engaged and go on podcast interviews and nobody asks them hard-hitting questions because they're just like, well, now you're engaged, so we should just as a society move on from the television show and support you in real life because you're engaged.
Crazy. I mean, it's crazy because it's like you're straddling seeing these people as people to whom you would never fucking ask that question to, and seeing them as characters. And that's what's super weird about reality TV and reality entertainment and content creation.
Yeah,
I think
that's true. When you put it like that, it frames it differently.
You would never do that to a person, but they are getting paid because of the contract they signed and knowingly agreed to, export their marriage for entertainment purposes. Yeah.
I just feel like don't even go on a post-show interview if it's not gonna be revealing. Like I'd rather not hear from you. If you want to go have your normal life and be engaged and be treated like a normal person, fine. True. But then like don't waste.
I think they're required
on these shows, but I think they are required.
I think they're required.
Yeah, but then like I don't know. It's such a waste of everyone's life. The only person who does it well. And I'm actively choosing to waste my life on this. The only person who does it well is Nick Vial, who
I love him, dude.
Such a good job.
I fucking love him. He is so great. I don't know if you guys literally have I talked about him on the podcast before. Many things about him make me want to be like, you fucking silly poodle boy. But he is actually, if you're going through a breakup, if you're having trouble wading through like fuck girls and fuck boys of dating and like learning self-respect, I followed his Instagram and his Instagram stories so hardcore, like when I was coming out of my big relationship breakup, and it was incredibly helpful. It was incredibly valuable. Like I would absolutely at the very least follow his stories. He'll like have people write in and be like, this is my dating Sarah. What does it mean when he says this? What does it mean when they do that? And he is fucking brutally honest. He is not trying to make you he's not blowing smoke up your ass, and I found it so helpful. And it's really nice to hear him say this to other people, so you don't have to receive it yourself, but you can see like objectively looking at someone else going through the scenario, you're like, oh, that is what happened. Like I don't need to put up with that. I don't need to miss it. I don't need to waste time there. So helpful.
He's so good.
Nick Vial.
Yeah, he's so good.
Cute as kitten.
Interviews people from these dating shows because the way his career got started is he was on The Bachelor.
He were Bachelor.
And so he's the only one that's like asking the Love is Blind reunion happened, and it was so boring and terrible. But then he had a couple of the castmates on his show that week, and he's been like posting those episodes on YouTube. And I've been watching them immediately, and they're good. He actually asked the questions that people want to know. Sometimes I want him to go a little deeper, but I also get that he's like in person with a human being and trying to like be respectful, but he pushes them and he asks good questions, and he like, I don't know. I feel like the reason I love watching these shows is because it really is like a psychological experiment and like a way for me to study how people behave, how relationships operate, how communication breaks down, but watch it in a way where I'm completely removed from it and I'm allowed to talk about it. I'm allowed to gossip about these people because I don't like, I actually really feel icky when I'm talking about people in my life and like what's going on with them and their relationships. I know we all do it sometimes, but I don't like that feeling. But you're permitted to gossip about reality TV people. And so I love it because it just gives me, I don't know, it's
You're
like
so
a good
right.
thing
It's
we
actually
can all react to.
It's the safe place. Like they agreed to it, right? They agreed to it. I feel like they don't end up
I don't know
it,
them,
but they agreed to it and they're getting paid and maybe they do love it. And we don't know them, but you're right. It's actually like the safe place to do that, talk about relationships. Yeah, no, I mean, it's very fun.
Once
you know what? You know what's a note I have in my fucking notes?
What?
Episode like 1, you talked about trying to buy sunglasses for your boyfriend. You didn't know if they would fit. Did they fit his head? I've been like, I've been thinking about it since Christmas. They were too small.
They're too small. Okay, I think in that episode I said that I bought an extra large, and I actually, in fact, bought a large. They were a little too small. I lied, and I never followed up about it because I was ashamed. Yeah, they were too small. I mean, they fit him, but they just like looked too narrow on his face. So we ended up going and doing like a sunglasses try on in person shopping spree type of thing where he tried on a bunch of stuff and then picked out the ones that worked better, and we like switched them out. So it was actually fun because it turned into an activity. I feel like that's way more fun for gift giving. Gifts are not big for me as a love language. So if it can be like, let's go shopping together and choose.
Let's go return your clothes together.
But we turned it into like a cute try on. So
fashion show at lunch.
Fashion show at lunch.
I say that constantly. All the time.
Yeah,
don't explain it.
You better know.
Okay. Don't explain anything.
All right, let's finish it up there. Thanks for asking that. That was really pressing, and I'm sure a lot of people were stressed.
I think it's actually why I haven't been sleeping at night.
Yeah.
This has been Not For Everyone. You tuned in, and that's your fault, and you'll never get this time back. You can find us on Instagram at not4everyonepod, Instagram.com. Check it out. You can find Jay-Z DeBakey hanging out on there. Also me, the good sitter. What the heck else? You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say, I should have said this. I should have called this out more in our last What I Do episode, or any episode. If you want to share it with a friend, you should. If you've been thinking, I want to share it with a friend, but I don't know if they would like that, I'm letting you know that we would like it. And then you let this be your bachelor episode. This is your bachelor that you can gossip about with your friends, and you'd be like, you know what stupid thing Caroline said today? And they'll be like, and did you see how Jess's hair looked the other day? And then you guys can talk about that. And
great call. I was like, where's she going with this bachelor comparison? But it worked. You made it work. Yes.
This is how it works. Share it with a friend.
Please do. Any of our episodes, even, whichever one you felt like was your fave.
Yeah. Pick a good one, though.
Always looking for good podcasts.
Pick a good one. Don't send them one of the bad ones. I'll tell you, if you don't know if it's a good episode or a bad episode, send it to me and I'll be like, that's a bad one. So send them a good one. You know what I mean?
Maybe we should make like a we'll make like a guide. If you're thinking about sending this to a friend, here are our top 3 where we think
here are our top 3. I think I did
really
good. I think I did really good in some of them, and then I think in some I'm intolerable.
Right. I think I
would agree.
No, I think I definitely have my favorites for myself, and I have my favorites for you, and sometimes they're different, but that's why it works, because we make it work. We make it balance.
We be bouncing.
We do it. We bounce and balance.
We bounce and bouncing. That's it. Don't let me keep talking. Love you.
Kisses. That's my new thing I'm going to say. Kisses. Oh, and Dog sex.
Okay.
We haven't done it in a while.
Forgot that was something we were yelling at each other.
I know,
Thank
but
you
I thought of it this week and I was like, I have to do it this
dog
week.
sex. I have to scream
Sex.
dog sex.
Yeah.
Also, thank you to Abby Newhouse for editing this episode. You can find her on Instagram at ABI Newhouse. She's a prince.
There you go.